Howdy. I'm working on my south bend lathe again, and I've already worked on the cross slide. Posted that video. I took apart the apron, put it back together. I'll be taking it apart again because I got new half nuts for it. So I'll film it when I take it apart again. And now I'm working on the quick change gearbox. It was very, very dirty, and everything was covered in a thick layer of grease. And when I decided to clean the two tumbler, the bottom tumbler and the top tumbler, I think this is a cam actually, I decided to toss those into a dip tank, and it took the paint off of it, so that made the decision to paint everything rather easy. I removed the plate from the front, and this has 4 rivets, and they have a twist to them, and in order to get those off, all I had to do was put a screwdriver behind this one here and pop that one. The other 3 I was able to come out from behind and just tap them out, and they twist right out. I removed all the felts from here. They're old. They're like this one's here. I haven't moved all the bushings yet. I'm going to put the felts back in a moment and do that off camera. I got a felt kit off of eBay, and put all new felts in, and so I don't have to do this again in the near future. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll bring you guys back once I'm ready to reassemble. And as I'm assembling it, I will make note of what was complicated on the disassembly. There was a couple parts that were hard. This is the same. This is a 9 model, but it's the same on any single tumbler quick change gearbox. So like I saw a 13C, or 13, not C, that had a very similar but larger gearbox. And it's the same disassembly process on them all. So I'll bring you guys back in a couple minutes when I'm done with the felts. Okay, I'm going to try to work with the camera like this. Gets you in closer. It's kind of a bit awkward for me. It's a little bit in the way. But, so, I have all the felts installed. There's 4 here, 3 on this side here. There's 1 extra felt that is used in one of the gears, and you put that in after you assemble it. The first rod I'm going to put in is this particular one with the 3 detents in it, and that is used for the top selector. This one took me a while to figure out when I was taking it apart, because I couldn't figure out how this gear came off until I looked up online and found out it was a pressed gear. So once I found out it was pressed, I was able to get it out. There's some oil spots in here. I'm going to apply some oil into each one of these slots now. There are end screws that you can remove for oiling after the fact, but I'm going to put in a couple drops now. I'm using a baby dropper to get oil in. Seems like a good tool for this. This was the hardest gear I had to get off. Just because I didn't know it was pressed. I didn't know the one gear had a pin that went crossway until I removed all the grease. I found 1 screw, and that screw was used to keep a ball that detents into these holes over here. So, okay, that's plenty. So, that goes in down here, at the bottom. And it's going to go in like that, but I have to get the gears on there, obviously. And the first gear to go in is the same one I had a problem with. It's pressed, so I might need to use a hammer. But the key way in each one of these gears to slide through. And as long as I line it up, it should go. I'm gonna hammer it off camera and get it all the way on there. Okay, so I have that gear past the keyway, and but if I hammer it all the way on, I won't be able to get the rest of the gears on. So here it slides pretty freely. I'll back it off and put the other gears on in the order they came off. I'm going to back this shaft out. And looks like I might need to take that out a little bit more. Okay. This is the one that gets the pin through it. This is the one that has the ball detent. You gotta keep track of that keyway as you're doing this. And before I get too far, this gear here goes on the other side of this oil tube. I'm gonna tap it. A little bit more. Okay. That's the way it looks when it's done. Except we're going to move this last gear all the way over onto a keyway that's in there, so I can line that up. I'm going to move this out of sight. Looks like it's right there. So I'm going to back the whole shaft out a tiny bit and see if I can just tap it in place. If I happen to make the paint like I did right there, I'll come back afterwards and touch it up. Alright, move it out of view for a second. Okay, I'm going to flip this over and hammer from the top. This was the gear that fought me getting it on the first, getting it apart. It's lined up. It goes twisting when I twist it. So, just gotta hammer it home. I'm not left-handed. going to bring it back while I move this onto a harder surface. Okay, so I got that shaft on, and I'd like to say it was easy, but it wasn't. What I ended up doing, I reach over here, is I made a wooden block out of oak, drilled 2 1-inch holes, and slid it over the shaft. You can see I actually broke it off in order to drive that on. It was kind of a pain. I don't have a press. If you had a press, it'd probably be a heck of a lot easier. I was trying to figure out a way to apply pressure back here and press it on using a C-clamp, but I really couldn't find a good way. But it's on. I also installed the lever on the top, so you can actually see how it works. There's 3 different detents. This is on the rightmost spot, left on the shaft, but right on the lever on the top. And then you can move it over. The detent there, and then line this up. You can see why sometimes it doesn't line up, and if you rotate the lead screw, you can get the line up, but then you get to the last detent. Also, another thing to note is this tube up here has an oiler on the front, and the only way that actually does anything, I didn't know this when I first got it, is if you have the tumbler in the leftmost position. Otherwise it will do nothing. So we have that in place. I'm going to put in the cone gears next. And this camera angle for me, I'm actually facing it this way. So it's going to be a bit awkward, but I'm going to try to do it this way. So I have all my gears nice and cleaned. And I'm going to flip them over opposite to what I need them. And this is a keywayed gear. There's a nut on the end of this. I'm going to take that nut off. It's a 1-inch nut. And some of them are staked or pinned. Mine didn't come pinned. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil on this felt, on this shaft. And I am going to touch up the paint from when I put it on from some errant hammer swings. But it won't be that big of a deal. And I'll put a little bit of oil on the keyway. Make everything slide a little bit easier. A tiny bit. Okay. First gear. And I can actually see which side was which by looking at the gear. The old prints are on there still. And it looks like I actually need to start this one on the other side. It's too big to go through here. Try not to force it, figure out where it's binding each time. That's right, it's binding on this last gear here. Small screwdriver to shift that over a bit. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm lined up now. No, I'm not. Right there. Okay, I'm going to bring it back in a minute. Okay, I'd like to say that was easy, but it wasn't. It took me about 15 minutes to get everything lined up, get that nut on. And some people need to use a thin wrench. This is the Harbor Freight Pittsburgh 1-inch, and I'm able to get it on there. So if you have a Harbor Freight around, you don't need to grind one down in order to get it in there. That's all tightened. I can verify that I'm not getting any binding. I switch gears. There's a middle detent. And the end detent. Find this gear here, the little one that rides in the way. On that pin, a little bit tight. Hopefully it'll break in. And move it into a neutral. Doesn't really have a neutral, but right here it's neutral. And a little bit tight. Like I said, hopefully it'll break in, because it makes it hard to shift over to the one position. Hard to get into that one position there. But now I'll put the tumbler shaft in and make the tumbler out. The tumbler. There's a wick inside here. I filled that out, cleaned out all the openings, and that should be good to go. On this, big end goes opposite the last two. Actually, I could have left that on there. Put a little bit of oil on the felt. Okay. And let's figure out an angle I can videotape this at. Let me move the camera. Okay, let me try to figure out how to get this together. I'll put a block of wood underneath it. this. Engage the gear. And let me see if I can get this to clear on the front before I tighten it down. Yep. I'm going to move this over. And it clears better on the middle. Now if I move it over. Okay, now it's engaged. So all I'm going to have to do, other than touch up my paintwork, is put on this, which has a taper pin. I forget which side's which. It's the big side. I forget which side. Here's a big side. I think it's this way. That. And just tap that in place. Okay, I got to put the top cap on, but I'm going to touch the paint up from any of my scratches, and then I'll do that. So, then touch my paint up over here. I got to replace one oil cover cap at some time, but that's basically it. Hardest part was getting that one shaft on the top, and until I made that block of wood, I couldn't figure out a way to do it. You want to use a brass hammer so you don't mar the end. Otherwise you can mushroom out the end if you use a regular hammer. So yeah, not too bad. I will finish this up, and next project will be taking the apron off to replace the half nut. So I'll videotape the disassembly on that. So until next time, thanks for watching.